Szeretettel köszöntöm a magyar olvasókat ebben a videóban, ahol Sjónnal fogunk egy picit beszélgetni, és Egyed Veronikával, a hamarosan megjelenő a CETHAL GYOMRÁBAN című regényről. És ezen a ponton átváltok angolra, és folytatjuk a beszélgetést. So I was just introducing what we're going to do now, and so this novel, Hungarian version, Record is coming out in Hungarian in a few weeks, and I really loved the book when I was editing it. And my first question would be about the main character, that like the whole novel is based on the life of Jón Lærði, who is a historical figure, but how did you find this figure, and why did you decide to choose him as the starting material for this novel?
Yes, usually the seeds for my books are planted very early on, and long before I start even think about using the material that falls into my hands or the stories that I hear that interest me. In this case, it was that I think maybe like it must be almost like 23-4 years ago. I found a little article where they were talking about Jón Lærði, this self-educated 17th century Icelander, and they just in one sentence they said that he had been influenced by the writings of and ideas of Paracelsus. And Paracelsus, the great doctor, the great naturalist, had been of a special interest to the surrealists. So I had read about Paracelsus in an essay by André Breton years and years earlier. So I thought, okay, maybe there is an entry point here, you know, from surrealism and my interest in André Breton and the, you know, the nature, the nature philosophy of surrealism, which is quite a big part of surrealism. And I thought, you know, maybe this will be the gateway for me to go into his story. And then when I started reading up on him, I just discovered that this was an amazing character. He had a very troubled, interesting life in times of great change in Iceland, when in the aftermath of the Reformation.
Yes.
And I realized that just the fact that he had written so much in his life and left so much material behind, diverse material, autobiographical, historical, in the field of natural science, I realized that this was a unique opportunity to try to engage with the mind of somebody who had been living in those times, somebody who, nota bene, had been powerless, had been outside the establishment, had been outside the academia, and was like my kind of guy.
Yeah, but you are changing his name in the novel, so the protagonist of the novel is called Jónas Pálmason, whereas Jón Lærði Gudmundsson was the historical figure. So why did you feel that you needed to have a kind of distance from this guy?
Well, I started by writing a book about Jón Lærði, and my idea was to keep the name and you know, to really make it a book about him. But at a certain point in the writing, I realized that not only had I started thinking thoughts on behalf of the character, which I could not find place in Jón Lærði's writings, but I killed his wife, you know. Oh. And when I killed his wife, you know, which had not happened in Jón Lærði's life, I realized, okay, this is not Jón Lærði anymore. Now let's take a step back and rethink this. And that, of course, in the end, gave me much more freedom to bring into the book whatever I needed.
Yes.
You know, of ideas, of events, you know, But basically it is more or less the life of Jón lærði. Quite much of the book is rewritten from his own texts, you know. But then on top of that there are so much new things. So I thought it was not morally right to pretend that it was him anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, with historical figures in Iceland, it's a little bit tricky because you have like great magicians like Sigmundur Frodi who have a very documented existence. You can go to Oddi and see the place where he went riding the devil in a seal form. So. So even with Jón lærði, we know that he was exorcising a few ghosts during his lifetime, and it's like written about him and everything. So saying that it's a historical figure that also contains this element of the unreal. And what I was curious about is that does this peculiarity of Icelandic history give you a bigger freedom to move between like the real and the unreal, that you have so many, you know, very meticulously recorded events that are obviously fantastic and
Well, I don't see them as fantastic. I see them as the reality of the people of those times and the character. If the character says, well, we had to exorcise a walking corpse, you know, well, why shouldn't I believe him? you know. So that's what happened, and to us it looks unreal, and to us it looks like fantasy. But I took it very seriously, and that's why, for example, that part in the book where they are exorcising the corpse, it is written in a completely realistic style. It is it's a real corpse.
I really like that part.
Yes, yes. So I thought, you know, I have to be true to his worldview, and if his worldview includes seeing the foot of an angel on a mountain in the distance, or like this, exorcising a walking corpse, or you know, healing with stones and whatever, you know, it's his reality, and I have to be. I'm his guy, you know. I'm writing the story. I'm on his side. So for me, it's real, and I think this is how we deal with those historical times here in Iceland. We have a very easy way with that, you know. I mean, if a historical document says that in the year so and so a ship came floating in the sky above a farm and threw down an anchor, and the person came down and looked around and went up again, and the ship sailed on. I mean, it's a historically documented event, you know.
Yeah.
And then you just write it. Yeah.
Yes. And how do you see, because this is a very special cultural setting that you're using all the time with Iceland, but your books have been translated into many languages and have reached very remote parts of the world. And how do you see when you're meeting with foreign readers, how do they react to this special point of view on history and the real and the unreal and stuff like that?
I think in most cultures we have similar things. You know, maybe not at the same time in history, but you know, I mean, let's say most cultures have a tradition of hallucinating holy people. You know, holy people seeing visions and channeling higher beings or lower beings, and all of the world has folk culture, you know. And I think just in the same way that I connect with similar things in African literature, for example, Nigerian literature, which is always very close to the spirit world and the world of the gods. You know, I can match it with our culture, where we have similar traditions. So I am not worried about that. You know, we are all telling the same story. It's amazing. In every part of the globe, you have had periods of polytheism, you know, where you had like multiple gods. And the pantheons in all of these places are more or less the same pantheons, you know. And all these elements, which means that we are all telling the same story, we are, you know. So I'm never worried when I write something, oh, people in Hungary will not understand that. Because I know the people in Hungary, they have had their share of crazy people and visions and strange happenings in the woods and wherever for much longer time than Icelanders. Yes, we have only been here for just over 1,000 years, you know. So you've been in Hungary for millennia, you know.
Yes, but the funny part is that actually Christianity was taken up at the same year in Hungary as in Iceland. So and actually, when I was reading the novel, I had this perception, and I don't know if I'm right, but it seems to me that the conversion from Catholicism to the Reformation, which was forced by the Danish king who was ruling Iceland at the time, seems to be a much more traumatic experience for Icelanders than the conversion from the old gods to Christianity. Is that?
Yes, I mean, at least that is the way the story is told, the story about how we became Christian in the year 1000. It was done peacefully. It was done through negotiation. And then the opposite fact happened, you know, with the Reformation, which was done in a violent way. And actually, the ruling class in Iceland, which was the rich farmers, they embraced the Reformed Church quite soon. And quite fast when they realized that they were to benefit from it, that they would actually get the church, you know, part of the church goods, and you know, all of a sudden they didn't have to take care of the poor, and all of a sudden they had all this wealth for themselves, you know. So it was quite traumatic, also because the Catholic Church had been, you know, like it is everywhere, you know, quite tolerant towards folk beliefs, you know. Compared with the Reformation here, the Catholic Church was, you know, the liberal church, you know. With the Reformation, they started cracking down on all these things, on the old herbal medicine, on you know, I mean, you couldn't, of course, pray to any saint, you know. All of a sudden, your worldview was taken away from you, and I think that is very interesting. That you're forced to exchange the worldview, you know, overnight. And one of the things that inspired me in just thinking about it was the fall of the Soviet bloc. You know, because so many people, you know, had been born into this worldview. Okay, there may be some of them didn't like it, you know, but it was the world you're born into, and it's a particular worldview and a world of values, and all of a sudden you're told, no, this was all bullshit, you know, throw it away and never mention this again. Yes.
And everything is different, and everything is the opposite thing.
Yes. So that was in a way an inspiration for me to think about a great shift like that for the common people. They don't let go of their beliefs so easily, and that's why he is misplaced, you know. He is between these two worlds because he's brought up in this secret Catholic family. So he has an understanding of that, and then he is just like he's a born rebel, because he is a curious man in times when information, you know, I mean, this becomes a dictatorship, you know, the dictatorship of the Reformed Church, you know. It's really dogmatic, it's tyrannical.
Veronika, this is the second book that you are translating, that you have translated from to Hungarian from Sjón. And how was the process? Which were the most difficult parts when you needed to like adopt this whole world that he creates into Hungarian, which is a very different. It's basically the other part of Europe. It's the other side.
Yes, well, I think when I first read the book, I thought it's a complicated text, but it was really smooth. So that was like one problem too. I hope that I succeeded to do the same thing in Hungarian, and Well, I think the other thing was that I had to invent so many names of animals and all kinds of creatures in Hungarian. But yeah, because those things just don't exist. But I actually like, that's one part of translation I really like. Sometimes I do it even with creatures that exist, because maybe the style is not always fitting.
Yes.
You see?
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. There are some creatures that I just had to make up some Hungarian names for, and yes.
Yes, there was one Nikur.
Yes.
Which is like the water horse.
Yes.
And the funny part is that in Hungarian, if you say water horse, you are meaning a hippopotamus.
Ah.
So we couldn't use it just like
we have
that.
a similar word for that in Icelandic. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so we needed to, I think we agreed in something like a water stallion or something. To make it sure that it's a horse.
Yes. Ah, that's a good solution, because it is a male horse.
Yeah.
You know, the Nikur is a male, is a stallion.
Yeah. So, and I really like it that all these, that when you connect these strange mythical animals, and then by the end of the book there is this strange stream of consciousness when Jónas says that every creature can be combined with another creature, and everyone has a little book inside of them with the whole creation. And of course I was thinking about the DNA and everything that is happening right now in the 21st century when we are doing these things. So probably that was one of the things that just seeped into this.
Yes, but it was very interesting for me to go into this world, because I really try to be in that world. And this is the world, the European world before the Enlightenment. And the world before the Enlightenment is so different from ours, and it's only like 4 centuries ago.
Yeah.
It's amazing, because in this world it was absolutely sure that everything was made by God. You know, Earth was at the center of the universe. You know, all these fine, interesting beliefs. You know, people had at the time, which I had to be true to. You know, I did not want it to be anachronistic. And one of the things that I realized was that the idea of prima materia, the original material that everything in the world is made from, corresponds with the idea of the DNA as being the founding block or of everything. But it corresponds much more with our times, like you say, than it did with the centuries between. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So there are very many things in the old worldview which were, let's say, more on the spot than what happened in the centuries between. And this is one of them. And of course, today, I mean, we have genetic engineering of animals, where we are seeing the grotesques actually just
the rats with the human ear,
the rat with the human ear, the neon, the glowing fish, the glowing mouse, you know, and all these strange creatures and flowers and hybrids that they are creating. This is what, you know, this is what the artists who were doing the grotesques, you know, they were creating all those things, and it's very interesting that we are there now. But you know, I think, you know, one of the discoveries for me writing the book, in the actual writing, was when I realized that because of all the material that Jón the Learned had left behind, I could, in a way, just enter his mind, you know. And I thought, okay, I will not write a, well, let's say, traditional historical novel in the third person or the second person, you know, very like, you know, constructed world. In the third person they usually are, with descriptions of furniture and clothes and everything, you know. Because I have all this material, and because I have the long poem he wrote about his own life, I can just enter his mind. I will take a seat somewhere comfortably in his skull, and I will look out through his eyes and set him walking, you know.
Yeah.
And I will just be there and listen to his inner voice. And that was for me that was a big step to come to go from like the traditional historical narrative approach to the stream of consciousness that I use in the first and the last part, and you know that it becomes more consolidated in some parts, and then all of a sudden we go into the third person, and then we go out of it again. But I really wanted to try to recreate the mind of this character. And I'm very happy that you managed to translate this, because these, you know, sometimes I know that because sometimes, you know, he jumps from one thought to another, and then he comes back to this one that he was thinking up here on the top of the page, you know. But you managed to...
Yeah. But do you prefer otherwise to write in third person or in first, or just different?
It is so different. It's amazingly different to write in the first or third person. The big trick with the first person is to create a multi-leveled character, because a character thinks about himself in a certain way, and mostly we try to think about ourselves in a good way, and we try to give a good idea about how we are.
Yes.
So you always have to look for opportunities to expose that the character is maybe not always right about himself, he's not truthful, you know. So Jón is very like, you know, very boastful, but then you realize, okay, no, maybe he's, you know, there is something waiting around the corner that will, you know, hit him over the head, and maybe he has, you know, I mean, he never thinks, I mean, it's only when he's lost everything, almost everything of his family except one son, that's when he realizes for the first time that they have been on this journey with him.
Yes.
That they have been suffering on this journey with him because of his mania, because of his thirst for knowledge and talking too much and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the trick with the first person. You have to find ways of, you know, making the person talk from her own perspective, but at the same time you need to see different angles.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the very important roles of Jón Leidi and your protagonist too is that he's not only a sort of a healer and a writer and poet, but he's also a witness. He's the one who has written down this really awful story of the Basque whalers who has been massacred in the West Fjords in 1615, and it was really funny a few months ago when this old story came back to the news, that the decree that the local sheriff was proclaiming at that time that everyone who kills a Basque person in the West Fjords can go unpunished. It has been only rescinded like this April, 400 years ago. Yes. which is really absurd. But this is recorded as like the last documented massacre in the history of Iceland. And I was wondering, is it something that that is known in like the general Icelandic discussion, or is it something that that they know about but they wanted to forget more? So did you have to be a little bit brave to write about this, or how does it go?
I don't think I needed to be brave to do it, because it was already in at least academic discussion. Mm-hmm. But for example, I never knew about this. I mean, I think maybe when I was a kid and when I learned Icelandic history, there was maybe just a short paragraph about the people of the Westfjords defending themselves from Spanish pirates or something. Oh, it was like, oh yes, they had to fight for their lives there. You know, and then I think it was in the 80s that Matthías Viðar Sæmundsson, who was a scholar and a lecturer here at the university, he reminded us about this story, and he brought history of the Basque massacre back into the discussion. The book that Jón wrote, or the document that Jón wrote, had been published in Copenhagen, I think, in the late 40s or early 50s. So it existed, you know, and I knew about it. But it's really a part of history that we have not liked to talk about, you know.
Yes.
And what happened last spring, when we had the decree repealed, and people from the Basque country came here, and there was, you know, almost like an official apology, you know, which, you know, okay, let's say was in the form of this opening up of cultural exchange and yes. other things between the Basque country and Iceland, you know. Is a recognition of what happened, you know. So now everybody knows about this. But it was really hidden, and it was really brave of Jón to write this document, and this is what really got him into trouble. And I must say that my work with pen.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That actually, you know, Jón seems to be a guy who would really could count on Icelandic pen, if it would exist at that time.
Yes.
It seems to be perfectly that kind of guy that needs the help of organizations like that.
Yeah, it's the first book I write actually after, or first book I wrote after I became the president of Icelandic Pen.
Oh.
And I really think my work with Icelandic Pen and International Pen helped me understand his situation. He is a man who is persecuted for, on one hand, his beliefs, you know, which is the folk magic and the medicine and everything, and his interest in the old religion, runes and things like that. And then, on the other hand, it is his journalistic act
yes.
of writing down what really happened when the Basques were massacred. My work for Pen really helped me understand his situation. Really helped me see what his case was, and that made him real. I think in the book it makes him real. He is in a real dilemma, and what I mentioned earlier with his family is also something that, you know, I have of course experienced through the work with Pen, and that is that the families of the persecuted writers that Pen is helping, they are the silent sufferers. They are the people who have no choice. If you're the children of an Iranian journalist, if your mother is a journalist in Iran and she is taken away and tortured, and you're a child, and you start suffering as well. Not only because your mother has been taken away and she's being tortured, but because the family starts being harassed and persecuted.
Yes.
And they didn't take the decision with their mother that she should write about whatever was happening in the nuclear plant in the south of the country or whatever, you know. So that it really helped me to understand Jón.
Yeah. And you were visiting Hungary 1 year after the first book, Skuggabadur, came out in Hungarian, when there was the Nordic guest of honor in the book festival. Do you have any special memories of that visit when you were coming to Budapest and meeting the Hungarian readers?
Well, it was just very, very good, and I met a lot of nice people in the world of literature there, and the city is of course amazing. So I hope the new book gives me a new opportunity to go back.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yes, I really do. And I must say, you know, I'm really happy to be here with the two of you, because the two of you are responsible for the books finding their way into Hungarian. First you by securing the rights for the Blue Fox.
Yep.
What is the name in Hungary?
It's Macskaróka, which is like, that is one of the words that we came up with.
Oh yes. Yeah, Katarina. Yes.
Yeah, because we needed to find something, and it's like the cat fox.
Yes.
But
and you translated it, and then you were translating the new one.
One of the good things is that in Hungarian you can also make really nice compound words.
Okay.
Just like in Icelandic.
Yes.
We can have pretty long words, but not as long as Icelandic.
No. Okay. So, no, it was very interesting to come to Hungary, and you know, I mean, I just want to say, because you asked, you know, how people in other countries and different parts of the world react to the books. You know, another side to it, apart from the shared culture of folk beliefs or whatever, you know, or holy people and all that, you know. People, of course, also connect with the situation of the character. Yep. You know, I mean, Jónas is in a situation that I am sure is known to the Hungarian people. Mm-hmm. The situation of the persecuted person, you know, and yes. all of that. You know, we all have these stories as well. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's what I try to do. I try to make the book work. You know, and then you try to make it work in Hungarian. Make it work in Hungarian, and I'm very thankful for that. Yeah.
Well, we are also very thankful for you to writing these stories.
Yes.
And we really hope that you will keep on writing them, and we can keep on bringing them to the Hungarian readers. So thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you, and I just want to say that with the translations, you know, I never think if it's going to be difficult or easy for the translator.
You shouldn't.
No, so I will keep making it difficult for you.
Yeah, okay.
Just do that.